Most people are contingent. Most people
Mm-hmm.
can't buy a new house without selling their current house.
Right.
I mean, that's very much a luxury.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Welcome to Loans Elevated, the podcast that brings you the latest industry news, expert interviews, and insightful discussions that will help you stay ahead in this dynamic market. I'm your host, Brock Lassick, and I've spent years in the trenches of the mortgage industry, helping individuals and businesses navigate the complex landscape of real estate financing.
I'm your co-host, TJ Heidenreich, and together we'll cover a wide range of topics, from business strategies that skyrocket your success to mindset and motivation that fuel your growth. We're back. This week, we're talking about all things offers, but if you're on the other side, if you're on the selling side.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the most important things is certainty. I mean, we've talked about that in other episodes is as a seller.
Maybe a million times, yeah.
Yeah, or a listing agent, you want to be certain that your transaction is going to go through.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes there's a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
You've got people that are selling in order to buy. And more times than not, it's contingent, right?
Yeah. Well, and there's deadlines that everyone has to line up on. And I don't think people realize how far that domino effect really goes.
Yeah.
Like I just had a client who was really specific on wanting to close at the beginning of the month because he wanted to skip up to 2 payments.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, the sellers need to stay in the house until X date. I don't know why they're not willing to extend the contract. And I had to explain to him, like, the reason why they can't is because their settlement deadline on their house that they're buying in Florida is this month. So they can't, if they extend their contract, then they would have to get the sellers of the house they're trying to buy to extend their contract.
Right.
And who knows if that person, it can be a crazy long domino effect. It all has an impact.
Yeah.
So that's why the certainty is such a big deal, because it rides on a lot of things. And most people are contingent. Most people can't buy a new house without selling their current house.
Right.
I mean, that's very much a luxury.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, then how do you create that certainty? If you're a listing agent, how do you create that certainty for your sellers, I guess is the question.
Well, it's definitely not through the buyer's agent. A lot of people think that.
Right.
It really comes down to what is the offer. If it's cash, obviously that's great. That's like the most certain you can get. But I think you can get just as good with a lender being involved if you know the right questions to ask the lender. And as a listing agent, you should call, if the lender's not calling you, it should be built within your process to call the buyer's lender and have a list of questions prepared that are ultimately going to give you the certainty that it is a good offer.
Well, and a pre-approval letter is only as good as the lender that's writing it, right?
Yeah, and most of them are worthless. They're worthless.
Yeah. I mean, and the reason why we say that is the barrier to entry to our profession is very low. You do, what is it, 40 hours? A 40-hour course and you pass the test.
Yeah, I think it's 35.
35.
You want to be specific, yeah.
So, yeah, even less.
Yeah.
And they pass the test, and now you can write a loan, which definitely should be a little bit higher barrier to entry when you're dealing with one of the largest assets or investments that people ever make in their lives. So to make sure that you are asking the right questions, we've thought about this ourselves, and we've written down questions that we would ask if we were a listing agent in order to make sure that that lender is legit and to give the seller certainty that their house is going to sell in a timely manner, at least. So first one we've got is, can you confirm the home buyer is straight salary, hourly, commission, bonus, or self-employed? Meaning, have they verified what the source of their income and how they're paid?
Yeah. I think there's a big difference. It's not, you don't need to ask them how much money they make.
Yeah.
Because the lender doesn't need to disclose that.
Yeah. Just verify.
I wouldn't if someone
just
asked
verify
me that.
it. Yeah. Do they know how they're paid?
Exactly. You're not prying. You're just getting an idea on the overall structure of the income.
Yep. Reason being, if the lender hesitates or if they're not sure, that's a huge red flag. But also, if they're not salary and if they're not hourly, odds are they're self-employed, and self-employed borrowers, more complex situations.
Yeah, or commission only.
Or commission,
sales with, more difficult income calculation. So then you can ask like a follow-up question. Okay, if they're commission or self-employed, do you have taxes, right? Or did you actually verify the commission averages is the income verified with documentation.
Yeah. Yep. Second one is, does the homeowner own any other real estate? This is big because what other liabilities do they have? Are they leaving are they vacating residence and turning that into a rental? Do they have lease agreement lined up? Like, is all of that set in stone so that's not going to bring up any issues later down the road?
Yeah.
Third,
and also, have they done that? Have they done this before?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because odds of them being well qualified go up dramatically if they've purchased a house before.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Especially in the recent, 3 to 5 years.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, proof is in the pudding. They've got equity from vacating residence probably.
Yeah.
That is only going to help their circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
3, has the homeowner or has the home buyer suffered a bankruptcy, short sale, or foreclosure in the past? If so, how many years ago? It kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah. You know who you're working with.
Yep. Have you reviewed the buyer's tax returns for the past 2 years? This is big for anything, but specifically for self-employed borrowers, because their this is going to show what their incomes look like, if it's declining, if underwriters are going to say something about that, if they've averaged out the income, really what that does for them.
Or even this gives the listing agent an opportunity to test the skills of the lender, because if taxes aren't needed, like if I were asked that question, taxes aren't needed, we don't review taxes because we don't need them.
Yeah, and why collect something that we don't need that could just
jeopardize the file?
Yeah, exactly. Number 5, have you gathered and verified the home buyer's cash to close? This is huge.
Yeah.
I've talked to many lenders before that are like, oh yeah, they're good for it. Well, what does that mean? Like, are they getting a gift from Aunt Sally? Have we talked to Aunt Sally? Do we have a gift letter from Aunt Sally? Right. Like, let's make sure that they've got all that beforehand. That way that just mitigates risk later on if they've got and collected all the documentation up front.
Mm-hmm. Or do they got all the money stored up in crypto with locked keys?
Yeah, seriously.
Needing to sell the funds,
mm-hmm.
That's
or is it cash in the mattress that they can't verify, and it's going to turn into a whole wreck later on.
Mm-hmm.
Does the home buyer, this kind of goes along with the last one. Does the home buyer require gift funds from a family member in order to buy? So along the same lines. Can you confirm that the loan has been approved through desktop underwriter, DU or LP?
Or just automated underwriting.
Yep, AUS. It's simple, and that's basically the first check and balance to make sure that client is okay before they submit into actual underwriting.
Yep.
Which every pre-approval letter every pre-approval should be ran through an AUS system before a pre-approval letter is written.
Yeah, it's not a pre-approval if it has.
Yeah, it means nothing. Because reason being too is when lenders don't talk about this enough. AUS can be super picky. Like, you think you can have a solid deal on paper, it looks good, but for some reason they don't like this scenario.
Yeah.
Maybe, and we see this all the time, that we have to get more creative, even when we think we've got a clean deal in front of us, just to get AUS to like it.
Well, I think the year, 2023, when Fannie Mae, they came out with those new LLPAs, which is another conversation. They also made updates to their AUS,
right?
Which was going to make a lot more files not accept based on risk factors, like meaning they would tighten up the algorithm a little bit and give more denials than they were in the past.
Right.
I know that was part of their underwriting update, so that's why it's even more important today to make sure it has been ran through AUS.
Right. No, for sure. 100% agree with that. Going back to this, my phone just crashed. Hold on. Oh, next one is, have you ran... this is off memory as I'm pulling this back up, but have you ran this specific offer with terms and conditions through AUS and terms with the borrower?
Yeah.
Which I think is huge. I mean, I don't know how many times the borrowers want to go out and they offer on a property different than what we discussed, and then
they think it's okay, but there's an HOA that they don't really piece together, right? Which we don't blame them. They're not doing our job, right? So it's innocent in their eyes, but it not oftentimes, but sometimes can really lead to complete different figures, which could lead to a denial, especially if they're shopping near a max.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Or if property taxes, especially in Utah, we're a non-disclosure state, they can fluctuate
Exactly.
Heavily. And that can throw off
taxes.
an AUS finding or approval super easy.
Yep.
Next is, can you commit to a 10-day loan approval, including appraisal? So, which I think is huge, because we can do that, and it's not hard to do.
Yeah.
So that shows what kind of lender you're working with, meaning when they get a contract, can they do their due diligence up front, get everything set up, and then order the appraisal as soon as possible to make sure they're meeting all the deadlines. Because after the appraisal deadline, which 10 days out, that gives that seller certainty, because odds are earnest money's hard at that point, and the buyer's not going to back out after a 10-day approval.
Yeah.
And then last one, and this is huge, is the pre-approval contingent upon the sale of the home buyers vacating residence?
Yeah. Which I know oftentimes is
it's in the contract.
But you can probably get some more details about that.
Right.
Like, yeah, it is contingent, but, worst case, if we did this and this, we could remove the contingency. So even just finding out if there's a backup plan to be able to buy it without it being 100% contingent. Sometimes it's just preference, right? Like, I want to sell this. I don't want to have to, I know we have programs that can help eliminate the expense of the vacating.
Right.
Higher rates and whatnot, but I think it allows you as a listing agent to find out if there's a backup plan, if not. Which again makes it even more bulletproof. If you're working with an offer that is contingent, but they have a backup plan that's less desirable, that's a pretty solid offer.
And as a listing agent, you're entitled. You can ask whatever questions you want to the lender. Now, they don't have to answer all of them.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's why some of these can seem pretty in depth, and you don't have to ask all of these when doing it. You can mix or match what works for your flow and your current situation. But we just wanted to come up with some outside of the box, not normal questions, because as lenders, I don't get asked a lot. In fact, never. More oftentimes than not, I'm the one making outbound calls to give the listing agents reassurance that the offer is good. I'm kind of shocked at the amount or the lack of calls I get. Just confirming what the offer is and the buyer's approval status.
Yeah. Yep.
So awesome. Well, I hope that helped you guys out. If you're a listing agent or seller, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in. For more industry insights, follow us on all platforms at Loans Elevated.
And to get in touch with our team, call or text 801-713-4000 or visit loanselevated.com.